Maybe. All right, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I'd like to remind everybody that take the opportunity of this, because I guarantee you under our present government, this is still the only country in the world where you can get people to come up and speak to the people that represent us. And as I heard our wonderful leader in the White House, a pure evil that's coming out of that place, say on Hannity that he congratulated the Muslims and thanked them for creating the fabric that made this country great.
If this is,
now,
does this have to do with us?
Hey, listen, I'm not as good as a blonde lady, mate, but let me go. Give me a bit of break. I'm leading to it. I've been in Philadelphia in the house where they signed the Constitution. I didn't see any prayer rugs there. Tom, if you ever find a way around these ferries in Sacramento to get a tent city out there, mate, I'll run it free of charge, unlike you guys, and I'll have it running at a profit within 2 months, mate. Secondly, we're after solutions here. I know I got an accent, but I'm every bit of American as Carl and Robert there, except I haven't taken up a gun, but I'm quite prepared to. I love this country with a passion. But listen, very seriously, marijuana is a curse. It's a curse to society. And the question I read the other day on the internet with Google, that I was looking up counties that are marijuana free, where they're total bans. And a number came up, and it also came up that in May 2013, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, that the Supreme Court of California turned around and said that the counties and cities have the right to ban all collectives and all marijuana growing. My question to you guys is, who has the balls here to bring that in? The county guys haven't even turned up. The county guys have not even turned up. What a bloody insult. There's only one decent there's only one decent Bill Chappelle there, guy, and we've only got a couple of guys here. You want to get over this problem, the 0.5 cent increase will not work, and don't try to get my vote on that. And we need more guys like Gary Cadd and Jonesy there, Patrick Jones. That's what we need in this county. But I want to ask a question. Why can't the city and the county ban marijuana completely?
Okay. Did everybody get the question? And thanks, mate, for what you're saying about this is a great country, and that's why people come here. So, Sheriff and Chief?
The Shasta County Supervisors did take a ordinance which restricted growing and for a land use ordinance. Currently, that land use ordinance restricts the amount of growing space you may have based on how much land you have growing it on. You have to have a residence on there, a legal residence, a permitted residence. Can't be within 1,000 foot of a school bus stop, a church, and some other sensitive areas. Stand by. Wait a minute, Peter.
Let him finish.
Let me finish. The board then took an action about a year later to increase those limitations. So they passed an ordinance that restricted it to 12 plants total that has to be grown indoors in an accessory building like a barn, shop, or shed, garage, detached from the residence. Still have to have a residence on there. That shed or growing area has to have a filtration area that filters the noxious odors of the marijuana away so it's not interfering with neighbors. That ordinance was passed by the Board of Supervisors. They also looked at those complete bans at the time, and you are correct that the Supreme Court did pass and decide that it is legal for bans. Then a group of citizens gathered signatures to oppose that restrictions that the board put on there. They were successful in gathering enough signatures to put it onto the ballot for this November. It's called Measure A, and all citizens, voting citizens in Shasta County will have a vote to vote on that this fall, which basically it reads, should the ordinance with the increased limitations or restrictions be passed, yes or no? And so that will be coming up in November with those increases.
So it is correct to say that the Board of Supervisors has the right to ban all growing of marijuana in this county?
It has the authority to do that. That is correct.
Been around, and how many people have been robbed here? How many people have had trouble with these people? You go to Google Earth out where I've got, you know, I've just spent 9 years fighting this county to get water out there, made a player in it. You go to Google Earth, you never see 12 holes in the ground. They're all over 20.
Now, within the incorporated cities, Shasta Lake, Anderson, and Redding, they are their own government entities. Anderson took a very restrictive one. I don't know if they're a complete ban or not. And the city of Shasta Lake is not a complete ban. They allow some growing up there. And I don't know what the ordinance is into Redding, and I'll pass that to the chief.
Okay, thank you. But you want to keep having these meetings? Allow marijuana to be grown. You want to stop all this stuff? Start with the marijuana. It's a curse.
All right.
And by the way, as we said, as the sheriff said, there's an election coming up in November. There's a chance to organize on whether it should continue to be grown or if it can be banned, correct? Or
No,
at least
that's not correct. It's not,
restricted.
it's a ban, but increased limitations or restrictions on how much can be grown.
All right, and that's going to be November. Yes, ma'am.
I kind of have a multi-part thought here. I wonder, in respect to AB 109 and the statistics for Shasta County, I don't know if it's based on per capita, but now Shasta County, in Redding in particular, is the 5th largest crime against women or domestic violence in the nation. And so I'm wondering if that has any correlation to the release of AB 109 and what the legislation considers a minor sex offense to be, because to me all sexual offense is a severe issue. It's not a minor issue. And how that all relates to the issue of gangs that are increasing in this area. Like the lady in front of me, I moved up here from Sacramento 17 years ago when they lost their gang task force, and have worked in that kind of environment with juveniles and probation and et cetera within the family. And so my concern with that is, how is the youth going to be educated on this? How are parents going to be educated? How's the community? Because with gangs comes the drugs, comes the sex trafficking, comes the human trafficking, which is increasing in Redding. And I don't mean to make everybody in the community paranoid. I'm just really excited to see this great of a turnout, because it's time for us not to be paranoid but proactive. And the more that we can make a force together and let people know that we're not going to just stand back any longer, the better it's going to be. So I'm curious with the trafficking and with the gangs and all of that. I know that the gang is mostly jurisdictional, but if you have any support with respect to human trafficking on a federal level.
Okay, so the question is AB 109, the gangs that we have here and the the sex trafficking that's going on, because there's been an increase in this, and the impact and what's being done by our law enforcement agencies.
And my hats go off to them, because they're dealing with a phenomenal amount on a very limited resource. So it's just important for us to make a stand and to be seen.
And it's important that we know what they're doing with this, because it is a very serious problem. All right, Chief, you want to start?
I can tell you that when they say nonviolent, non-serious, non-high-risk sex offender, Chief Paletti didn't make the definition of serious or high-risk sex offender. I agree with you. Most of what we're seeing right now as far as violence in the city of Redding pointed at women is still domestic violence. And it is a huge problem for us. We have good partners in One Safe Place and other places, but it's very hard for us to address a crime that takes place in the home where there's constitutional protections to keep us out. So we try to work with places like One Safe Place and others to break that cycle so that they don't keep going back. We get them the emergency protective orders. We make the mandatory state arrests that are required. Now, those are still violent crimes. So domestic violence is still eligible for prison.
Hang on a second. Why are we getting feedback here? Is there somebody needs to move?
It's my magnetic personality thrown off.
Hello? Okay, you might have to turn that down a little bit. Okay.
So whether if I think that domestic violence is being directly affected at this time by, or sexual offenses by AB 109, not really at this point. What I'm concerned with is that the California Department of Corrections does not decrease its prison capacity to what they're supposed to. and the judges order a decrease from 85% time served to 50% time served, those domestic violence offenders and our other violent offenders are going to come back to this community that we sent there. So we're really going to watch AB 109 to make sure as those changes take place. With respect to the article that you referenced, that I talked about this in the town hall meeting right after that came out. One of the problems that I had with their methodology for that is they used our total violent crime statistic to come to that conclusion. Our total violent crime statistic also includes crimes against men. So I don't think their methodology was all that well. We do have a higher than what I would say probably per capita average of rapes that are reported in this community. Rape is probably one of the most underreported crimes that takes place because of the humiliation and other things that are on the part of the victim. The fact that we get them reported and most of them come to us through One Safe Place, I think is a positive because we can take action against the offender, and One Safe Place encourages those young ladies to come to us so that we can take that report. So one rape is too many. But the fact that we can get them reported and we can take action against the offenders is a positive outlook on One Safe Place and our partnership with them. When it comes to the gangs, Shasta Interagency, or the Shasta Anti-Gang Task Force, SAGE, has documented about 200, 250 gang members at any one time. It fluctuates, up and down. We watch very closely who comes out of prison and their gang affiliations. We are very, very fortunate to have 2 special investigators from the California Department of Corrections that are prison gang experts that work in the Redding Police Department Investigations Division directly with our gang task force. We have had some influx, and what worries me being a military guy, when we do an operation, we send scouts out. Well, so do gangs. So what is the reaction of the Redding Police Department going to be? Do you think they really care about getting arrested? Well, they do, but what are they going to get held? What is our deterrent capability of this community to keep gangs out of our community? We had about 6 Oak Park blood gang members move in up of West Street. The Shasta Area Gang Enforcement Task Force arrested every one of those guys about 3 times in 6 weeks, and they went back to Sacramento. So we will keep a very close eye on what gangs are coming here. We will continue to do gang intelligence and enforcement on our homegrown ones. But just like we talked about with the drugs, when we do a gang presentation to educate parents and we advertise it in the newspapers and that's in the TV and everything else, I need parents to show up. I need parents to take an active role in their child's life so we can prevent that at the start. And like I said, if this community wants to see that presentation again, I'll get a bigger hall and you can bring all those parents in here and we'll give it to you. But I'm really concerned right now, quite frankly. Heroin is coming. It's here and it's growing. And with heroin comes the gangs that peddle that. And I'm very concerned, and we're going to watch that very closely and stay very aggressive on that. To your third point about sex trafficking, we just did the first major case of sex trafficking that we are going to prosecute. And that was a cooperative effort between us, the Sacramento Police Department, and federal agencies and others that got involved. But that investigation started really from a report from a citizen. And that citizen's in this room. He can make a decision whether or not he wants to stand up and take credit for that. But we could not have done that crime without that citizen's involvement. And I congratulate him for that, and it's his decision.
Another thing the chief didn't touch on, we still have our Shasta area gang enforcement teams put together. It's part of the police departments, sheriff's office, highway patrol, and we go out and look for these individuals, check on them. My jail staff also works at when people are arrested, looking for gang members, their gang affiliation and classification of them, and certification. So it's not a certificate you put up on the wall and says, hey, I'm a gang member. That certification is a legal process that once they're certified gang member, if they're doing other crimes, that can lead to enhancements on punishment if convicted. So we still go out, and do Shasta gang enforcement, we've also combined that with our compliance team for prison realignment, because many times these are the same individuals. Also, I omitted probation, but they go out with us as too, because some of these people are on mandatory supervision and/or PRCS. And so that's the way we actively work it. If we get reports of some gang activity up in the city of Shasta Lake, we may have an operation up there. It could be down in Anderson another week, or it could be in Reading. So it does move around as the criminals are mobile as well.